Hey, Mom, so glad you're listening in today. Would you like to rethink your family meals? My guest today, Sally Cressman, has 6 really great ideas and ways that you can get talking and build relationship and eat dinner all at the same time. Stay tuned. Hello, moms. Welcome to the Front Parking Spot podcast. I am so glad you're here. I'm Jennifer Bosma, wife, mom, grandma, former teacher for 23 years, and now a Christian children's book author and your podcast host. Are you a faith-based mom trying to live out a Christian life for your family? Do you want to learn more ways that you can have power over your child's spiritual growth? Inside this podcast, you will find tried and true ideas to grow in your faith and be the best wife and mom you can be. So listen in as you're cleaning up, doing the drive, or matching that sock, and be encouraged to know that God has His front parking spot set aside for you. Hello, moms, and welcome to the Front Parking Spot podcast. Today, I am so excited to have Sally Cressman here with us today. She has been serving in children's ministry for over 30 years, teaching, writing, curriculum, and authoring a children's book, The Dance of Easter, coming up, y'all. Pretty fun. She is passionate about encouraging grandmas and moms who feel unequipped in the digital age to confidently pass their faith to their grandchildren and kids. As an award-winning writer, she provides resources through articles, books, book recommendations, and other ways to help build confidence in discipling the next generation. Her publishing credits include Lifeway Kids Ministry, Focus on the Family, the Moms in Prayer blog, and the Nashville Christian Family magazine. Straight from Nashville, welcome, Sally, to the Front Parking Spot podcast. So glad you're here.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer, and hello to all you moms out there listening. I've been there, and I know what it's like to be in the trenches.
Oh, so in the trenches, and they're so busy. And I love what you're going to talk about, Sally, because when you mentioned this as an option, I thought it was a great topic to talk about rethinking your family meals. Tell us more about what you have on that.
Sure, I just think about the family. Where do you meet most often? And it's around the table. It's a safe place for families. I mean, that's where homework gets done. That's where meals get done. You know, different conversations get done. So I just want to look today at this family gathering and specifically during mealtime and how you can look at it in interconnecting faith, family, and home and those three and how we can to implement important practices or skills, spiritual skills during that time with what you're already something we're already doing because moms don't need more to do, right?
Right, exactly.
And right, and so just this idea to think about it maybe just a little bit different of what you're already doing.
I love
Let
that.
me let me go, for example, prayer. I'm sure most of your moms have there's prayer before the meal. And, of course, I have a little grandbaby now, so they're already teaching him to fold his hands, put his hands together, and little children can do those rote prayers, and when our kids got a little older, we sang the prayer just for something different. We did the Johnny Appleseed song. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
I love the
Um,
singing of a prayer. Great.
yeah. And another family I know, they will do the doxology, so but it's not only what you're doing at that table, the mom and dad are modeling prayer for their children. So they're showing prayer, what it looks like, what to pray for. And another thing I thought of not too long ago is it teaches your children to pray aloud. And so just recently, we all celebrated Christmas, the Advent season, and the most of the churches, they do those Advent candles, right? And so they have a family come up and they light the candles and all that. So anyway, this past Christmas, there was a young family that came up and they had a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they lit the candle, they said the scripture, and then the little 6-year-old said a prayer. And it was the most precious, heartfelt prayer from that little boy. And I thought, wow, he did not just go up there and do that. He has been learning, his parents have been training that at him at home. So I think when you allow your children to do that, that gives them the confidence to get up there and pray for people, to pray aloud, to pray in public. My daughter also, she swam in college. And so, they always have the end of the school year, that the banquet, I guess you call it.
Mhm.
And so we went, and when we sat down to look at the program, her name was on there to give the prayer. And I didn't know, I had no idea she was doing this. So when she got up there, she said the prayer, and this is a public school, it's not a private school. So she prayed over, she thanked God for all what he had done, the protection, and she prayed for the seniors and the families. And I'm like, all right, this mama did do one thing right
Right.
to teachers. So think of that prayer not as just what you're doing now, but you are sowing seeds in that child for later in life, that they now can go pray and be confident to pray over other people, and to pray in public, and to events like this where maybe people have not been heard prayer. So I think that's a really important a piece, is that prayer.
I love that.
Another area I wanna look at is serving, and I know when you think about the young moms, they're probably going, "Oh, that's all I do is serve," and so, but I want you to think of serving as teaching your children to serve. And now let's just backtrack a little bit. You might want to get your husband on the same page here, because I think it's important for families for the children to see mom serving dad and dad serving mom. And the kitchen, the table is a good place to do that. You know, Even your smallest, they can identify a fork and a knife, and they can set the table. The kids can clear their plates. They can put things in the dishwasher. They can take things out of the dishwasher. Your husband, the kids should see him doing the dishes, and helping and chipping in. As your kids get older, they can make their lunches. So I think there's a and we saw Jesus doing that. Remember at the Last Supper, he washed the disciples' feet. Now, I'm not saying do that at your mealtime. I have one who thought feet are gross, so
Right.
we're not. She would not be for that. But there are ways that you can model this service, and so then they will go out and do it. And also, I think looking further down the road, your future son-in-law and your future daughter-in-law will thank you for doing that.
Yes,
For
100%.
doing that. One other point that I didn't do very well at is these conversations that you have at the table. When I also ask the same question, like, "How was school?" "Fine, mom."
Right, the one-word
So
answers, right?
right, right,
Good.
and so you just don't get anywhere. So you have to think about how to really understand, like, what's going on in school, or what's happening. So maybe say something like, "What was the best part of your day?"
Mhm.
Or, "Do you want to talk about this later if something is coming up that you can sense that there's a wall or whatever?" I also want to put a plug in here. I am on my social media, which I'll share at the end. On Thursdays, I offer conversation starters. So for the moms, if you don't even want to come up with a question, or I'm trying to make it easy, I offer 3 different questions every Thursday. So that's just a way to look at that, and then you don't even need to come up with a question. So anyway, just to get the conversations going, I think if you have some questions up front, that will
Right.
help.
Oh, I love that because 'cause you're so right. Because when you ask them the one word, "So how was school?" "Good." "What'd you do?" "Not much." "What was your famous" being a former teacher, I would tell my kids in the classroom, I'm like, "Okay, when your mom or dad ask you, 'What'd you do in school today?' Tell them this." I would script it for them because they
Okay.
go home and they have amnesia, and they don't you could have done, like, had the best day as a teacher giving to your students, and they're like, "Nothing." You're like, "Really?" No. So I love that in the conversation, and I think it's really important for mom and dad to model that as well, for
Yeah.
them to get into good discussions, and you're right, modeling is huge from the classroom days all the way up what we do.
Yeah.
I love these.
And I know this is coming out here in March, I think you said.
Mhm, yeah,
So and we have Easter coming up in a month. So there are some questions that you can think about for Easter to understand, do they really understand what this holiday is about?
mhm,
What does Easter mean to you? What do you think about the resurrection? So just to ask some questions to get an understanding spiritually of where they stand. I think those are so you can just think about that ahead of time. So holidays are a great thing too to a great time also to ask these questions.
that is good because you say, "What is Easter?" They'll say, "The Easter Bunny?" A lot of times that kids aren't, used to going to church or in a Sunday school program, that's maybe what they think it is, so
Yeah, and
great.
even those that know the Sunday school answer, Jesus died on the cross. Well, like, maybe you wanna find out a little bit more, why did he die on the cross? I mean,
Mhm,
what does that mean for you? So, just to probe a little bit more, and it depends upon the age of your kids too. You kind of have to balance that also. Obviously, if it's a teenager, you can probe and ask, more questions or deeper questions, sure.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
good.
another one that I really love is hospitality. To think about, so you have, your family unit, but who can you invite to the table outside of your family unit to look around and who is in your neighborhood, a church or whatever, and think about who might you might want to invite. So let me give you an example. There's a lady at our church. She's probably in her mid 80s and she's never married. So there's this young family that has invited her over to their home, and they've invited her to I think they've gone out to eat with her too. So they've formed this relationship. They've had her at her table. And one day at church, the little boy, he's probably first or second grade, he drew a picture of her. Now she had this is like permed hair and the glasses and everything, and she was showing that picture to everybody. There
Oh,
was so much joy in her heart because that family did simple
mm,
one simple practice of inviting her over to their meal, to their table. So you just never know what an impact that might have in somebody's life. That little picture
mm.
just meant so much to this lady. Barbara is her name. So
Aw.
I have another example. If you have a child that's being bullied at school, I was in this group last year with some young moms, and the one of the young ladies had brought up that her son was being bullied, and she had talked to the teacher, and she thought it was resolved. But then one day, the son came to her and said, "I don't want to go to school today." And she was taken back. She's like, she totally forgot. She's like, "Why not?" And she mentioned about this boy bullying her. And at that point, she didn't know what else to do. So she prayed about it, and she felt like God saying, "Invite the boy over."
Wow. Great
So
idea.
yeah,
This is
not so
so
great.
good.
Well, she talked to the son,
Yeah.
and he was first, "No, mom, no,
Right, right, right.
like, no way." And she said, "Look, I will be with you the whole time. I will not leave you out of my sight. We'll have a meal together. We'll do some fun things. I'll have it all planned. We'll just invite him over." And he said, "Okay." But again, he was not happy about it.
Mm.
Well, they did that. And by the end of the day, those two boys were laughing and having fun. So again, just that simple act of inviting someone to your home, to your table that normally doesn't sit there, what an impact that can make on what's going on. Yeah.
Sally, that is genius. That is absolutely genius, inviting the bully over because, it's the same old thing. Like, when people hide behind, like, I had a student who was a bully, and he would sneak and get people in line going to lunch and say things to them when no one would hear. And then, but when I got his mom to come, and I'm like, because she wouldn't answer, she would just always defend, him. And I one time we had a meeting in the hallway, and I would say, little boy, let's talk about this. Once we got it out, and like, what are some things you're saying? And then she heard, and then he vocalized it. It totally nipped in the bud. Once you like inviting the bully over, once you invite them over and you can talk to them. Did the parents come too? Did the parents
Oh,
come?
yes.
Yeah.
No, no, not his parents,
Okay.
it was
Not his
just
parents.
he came alone, yeah.
Okay, but you could even invite the parents, just saying, "Hey, Susie, I heard your son and my son aren't getting along too well. How about if we do a meal together?" And then really get, because that's a great way to disengage the bulliness, and then they're seen as a friend, and then they have like it's just a great way. It's kind of like it makes me think of in the olden days when you'd see the scary movies, which I hate, but whenever the priest would come in with the crucifix, the Jesus cross, would make it go
Sure.
away. Once you expose evil or any side things going on, once you bring it to the light, it goes away.
Yeah,
And that's the same thing with that bully. I love that. Good job.
yeah,
Keep going. You have so many good I'm writing them down. Keep going.
yeah. Yeah, another one that is the table needs to be a place where you build each other up and where you have words of affirmation and where you are valued. It's a safe place where you can come and you know that even though you messed up yesterday, and maybe yesterday you couldn't be at the table, but there's forgiveness, and today you're back at the table. I think that's really important. There is another family I know, and I just found this out a few months ago. They every birthday since their kids were little, they would eat their meal together, and then they'd have the birthday cake, and then everybody in that family would go around and say some positive words of affirmation to the birthday child.
Mm,
And so there were no negative comments. It was just all positive. Something they saw in them that they admired, something that to build them up. Well, the husband of this friend of mine, he just turned 60, and so he had his birthday a couple months ago, and she did that for him. And so they went around the table, and his parents were there,
mm.
and they spoke into him and just said, "We're proud of you. We see the godly man that you've grown to be." And so this affirmation, it not only is it powerful when kids are little, but when people are older, I mean, that man had tears in his eyes to hear what his parents had to say about him.
Mm.
So it's so important, to hear that. Growing up, never heard that I was loved from my parents. I mean, never. And so if I could have heard that back then, that you are loved, you are seen, you are valued, you're important to this family, I it would save me a lot of money in counseling.
Right. Oh, it's to build them up. I mean, it's okay to do that. We all kinda do it at Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for? But to really talk about, and we try to do that on our kids' birthdays too, is to talk about what is one thing I think about you, Stephanie, and you would tell them what you think, or one thing I think of you, that's so good. And in my classroom, we would do that too, go around the circle on Fridays and give compliments. And you can just see their little shoulders just getting, like, a little bit more straightened up when they hear something nice. It's so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, and to give that one person the attention, I think is important,
Mm,
yeah.
so good.
I have one more. Devotions. Now, this did not go well for my family.
Mhm.
I was a Sunday school teacher, and so I would do these devotions like I did Sunday school.
Right?
Does not work. So I know a family, they would do family devotions at the table. The kids would have to get up, be there on time. They would read the devotion together. They would pray, eat, and out the door they went. Later, as the kids got older, she would put the devotion out on the table, and everybody would read the same devotion, the same scripture, read the same prayer. And I just think that works a lot better. I mean, you do what works for your family, but that's just, again, a place where you're already meeting. It's not extra time. It's not extra effort on anybody's part. And that's really what the whole discussion is about, this implementing these spiritual practices you're already doing, but thinking beyond just like that moment and preparing your child, training them for later in life to be confident in their in their Christian walk. So yeah.
I love this. I wrote them all down. So correct me if I'm wrong. Number 1 is prayer, getting you saying the prayer, and even if you're from a traditional denomination that just says the same prayer, just getting out and parents just talking to the Lord, and that's how you teach your kids, just and then they'll get more comfortable. So prayer, serving, I love that. Serving each other. Sure, sure, mom, I can get you a napkin. Let me help. And then conversation. I love that, actually getting those questions, and we'll attach that into the show notes too, and how we can find your website to get that. Hospitality, inviting people over, beautiful, from a person who may be homebound in your neighborhood to that person in school who's maybe not so nice, but that's a great way to get them to be friends. Number 5, affirmation, love that. Everyone wants to be built up. And number 6, devotions. These are some great things. Now, would you do just kinda implement them as you can, or would you do, like obviously, you're not gonna do the affirmations every day because then it gets to be not as, like, special, but maybe once a week, let's talk about, let's do a devotion time tonight, or a conversation can be always, but do you have any recommendations on that?
No, I think you need to, as a family, just see what works for you. I'm not trying to put more on the plate, and if you try to do all 6, that
Yeah.
can seem
Mm,
overwhelming. But if you're already doing prayer, just think of that. Why you're training them? What are you trying to do? Just to say a prayer to bless the food? Or are you training them to talk to God? And are you training them to know how to pray and to be able to pray confidently out
mm.
loud? And so just to think about it a little bit differently than what you're doing. And so yeah, you just do, moms, you do what you can do.
Right.
Right, we
Another
don't
thing
need to add more to your plate, we're just trying to give you other ideas to think about what you already hopefully are doing.
and one other thing we do too is we do highs, lows, and what you learned of the day.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of fun, like, "What was your high of the day?" And then they tell you, "What was your low? What'd you learn?" And sometimes, like, "I can't think of one." You're like, "It's okay, next person," and that's always fun too to help with the conversation part of it. Oh, well, Sally, this has been such a blessing. I love, love, love this. This has been great. And everything you talked about is spot on ways to build the relationship at the table and to talk and not just get those one word answers and to teach them how to
Mhm.
pray. So many good things. How can listeners find you and order your book in time for Easter?
Sure, yeah. So I have a website and it's sallycressman.com, just my name.com. So there's some links there under books you can order there. I'm also on, it's called The Dance of Easter. Sometimes I forget to say that. And it's a picture books, and it celebrates the joyful response of creation to the resurrection. So yeah, that's available Amazon, my Endgame Press, but you can go through my website. I have the links there. And then for the conversation starters, those are on my social media. So I'm on primarily Facebook and Instagram, and Facebook is just my name. And then Instagram is SA Cressman. But if you search Sally Cressman, you'll find that too. Yeah.
That's perfect. And go ahead and we'll have all that in the show notes, listeners, so you can click on the description and find all those and get right to Sally. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Sally, on the Front Parking Spot podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening. Well, mamas, thank you so much for joining in. I know you are super busy doing all the things that can consume your day, but you took a couple of minutes to learn how God wants to build you up in your faith, family, and life, and He wants to applaud you for this. Please subscribe and review my show. This helps other moms tune in as well. I'd love to connect with you on Instagram at Front Parking Spot, on Facebook at Front Parking Spot Mom Community, or my website at jenniferbosma.com. Have an Ephesians 3:20 type of day, mamas, and be encouraged as you go for the front parking spot in your life today. God bless.